this is Dominic, wedding DJ.
And this is Serena, wedding planner.
And together we are the Wedding Duo. We are here to talk all things weddings.
Planning a wedding can be stressful, but we are here to help.
So before you say, that's it, we're going to Vegas, don't go to Vegas.
Let's have some fun.
Join us as we answer your wedding questions and help navigate planning one of the biggest days of your life with the Wedding Duo. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Duo podcast.
Yes, here we are, and we made it through October. We're so excited to be back. I know we did miss a week. By the time this podcast comes out, we will have missed a week, and we're sorry about that, but we were so busy with so many wonderful weddings, and October is just insane here in Texas.
October. We kind of cheated. We put one of our TikTok lives on our podcast, which was entertaining and interesting, and those are always fun, but it's a little bit different. But yes, we had to make it through October, so we're back. We survived. We did survive, and we survived well. It's really amazing to, as small business owners, kind of see where we've come, and just to service so many events successfully is really an accomplishment. So I'm proud of us. Yeah, I always joke and say like October is crazy, but it is. It's a great problem to have as a small business. And I was talking with a wedding planner just this last event. She was like, how you holding up? And we were both talking about how busy we were. And I was just like, yeah, but it's just, once I hit the ground and once I get everything set up, because that's always the hard part. And then you start seeing like bride's first look with dad, or maybe the groom and the bride's first touch, or you start seeing people come down the aisle or they get excited. And my adrenaline starts going, and I'm tired the next day, but it's just kind of like you get into that and it's the flow, and man, it's just great what we get to do. It is. We are very fortunate to be part of such a wonderful day for people. And I want to point something out. If you're listening to our podcast or you follow us on social media, we get this question quite often, like, do we do events actually like anymore? Right? Like, do we? Yeah. Do you DJ? Yes. Do I plan? So to answer that question on our podcast, yes, we are local to San Antonio. Our business is called At Last Entertainment and Events, and we do wedding planning and DJ service for weddings here locally, but we also travel. So if you are outside of the greater San Antonio area, we can come to you if we're available. So just to answer that question, I wanted to put that out there. But today's episode is a real fun one. It is. We're excited to chat about this, right? We kind of stumbled onto it because we're always looking at, here's some fun stuff, but there's just one thing that is almost at every wedding that varies greatly between the weddings. It's true. So we are going to give you guys some great guest book ideas today. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a lot. Got like a baker's dozen. I think. Yeah. And those are just off the top of our head, the ones that we just said. How about this one, this one, this one, this one? Yeah. So we're going to give you some examples of what you could do at your wedding for your guest book. Some really bam, there it is. Fun ideas. So one of the one that it's a relatively new one to this category, but it's been fairly popular. I've seen it about a half a dozen times. It's the old phone. They set up an old phone, and you, rather than like the rotary phone, like old, not like a flip phone. We're going even further back than that. It's like an old rotary phone. The last one I saw was really like an old timey phone. I mean, you didn't have to turn the handle and been like, junction station or whatever, but you basically leave a voicemail for the couple as opposed to writing something down. And it's really cute. People always talk about, oh, you can hear grandma's voice, or whatever, like later on. But the last one I did, I've done this, I've seen it about 4 or 5 times, like I said. Right. And every time you pick it up, it just says, leave a message for the couple. But this last one, it had a voicemail from the couple, and they were both on there giggling, talking about, we're glad you made it. Thanks for coming. Leave us a voicemail. And I was like, that is fantastic. That's the way it should be. Yeah. So they allowed the couple to pre-record a message so that when your guest goes over to use the phone, they pick it up and there's a pre-recorded message from you guys on there asking them to leave your well wishes. And I think that is just fantastic. It's very cute. It's a very non-tangible thing. It's like you get to listen to everybody's voicemail again. Yes. So think about this, like in the future, right? You're going through this recording you have, and you get to hear the voices of your family and friends. Maybe now they live far away, or maybe even somebody has passed, and you have this memory recording. I just think it's really wonderful. And it looks very cute on the table, the old timey phone.
Now, one thing that we want to point out that's helpful, instructions. Okay. Because if there's just a phone sitting on the table, the people don't really know what to do. So it's helpful if you have some type of sign that instructs them to pick the phone up and leave a message. I mean, it's relatively simple, but it is always helpful. Signage is my friend, to give instructions so that people know, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do.
You know what else you can do?
Tell the DJ to make
an announcement. I mean, you don't have to tell me. I see the stuff and I'm like, oh, if I see a hashtag, I'll tell people, hey, here's the hashtag. Make sure if you get a good picture, hashtag it, or whatever the guest book is. I always try to send people over there because they're sitting at their table. If they haven't seen it yet, I'm like, hey, while you're sitting there, go hit the guest book. Yes. Go do the thing, whatever the thing is you got to do. That's
important too. And myself as a planner and then my team, if we're there, we oftentimes after the ceremony, I'll post someone right by the sign-in table to give instructions or to make sure that they remind people to sign it. Because you want people oftentimes want to leave their signature or their voicemail. They just sometimes pass it by or they don't realize. So it's good to have those reminders.
There you go. Okay. And the two companies that we've worked with, and they're not sponsoring this podcast or anything, but After the Tone is one of them. And the other one, the more recent one was FET Phone, F-E-T-E, FET. I don't know if it's FET or FETI.
And that was the one that had the message, right? Yeah. Yes. So if you're looking for this for your event, you could check those out. So the next guest book that we've seen a lot of and that we really like, even though, it's been around forever, kind of. I mean, I feel like it's been around a long time, right? Is the Jenga signature, right? So you have an actual game of Jenga and usually you use the bigger pieces.
Yeah, not the giant ones like the 2x4 that somebody made in the garage, not those. But there's the regular size that are kind of like 2 inches. But there's another one that's about 4 inches and it's a little bit thicker. And if when the Jenga does fall, it's not going to break your foot, which is why I'm always worried about that. When the kids are out there playing the giant Jenga, when that thing comes down, it's like a small house collapsing.
I guess the
kids are going to get knocked the heck out. But it's basically like an oversized Jenga, but there's just more room for somebody to sign something sweet.
Exactly. And so again, you have that set there. And I'm going to reiterate this. You have a sign giving them instructions on what to do. And they actually take individual pieces of the Jenga game and sign their name and a little message. And it's really cute.
The last one I saw, they had about 4 or 5 different colors and they have a Sharpie there.
Colors of Sharpie?
Colors of Sharpie. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's even more colorful. I did a TikTok on it and it was just like all these different colors on the Jenga pieces. It was really fabulous. I mean, the black looks great, but it's a great way to, if you bust out the Jenga one day and you're like Uncle Charlie, you drop 3 F-bombs on the Jenga. Because that's what I do is I walk by, I'll grab a piece of Jenga so I don't forget. I'll bring it to my booth and I set it there. So at one point when I'm doing an announcement, I'm like, hey, if you haven't had a chance to sign a piece of Jenga, and I'll hold it up and they'll see it. I would say like, go out and write something sweet. And I point to one of the tables and I go, and appropriate, looking at you, table 13.
Let's try.
And then I was like, why you got to be looking? I go, I'm just joking. But yeah, I try to say that too, but I don't care. You can write whatever you want.
That actually brings me back to a guest book. And I guess it wasn't a guest book. It was on the sign-in table. Do you remember when we had the honeymoon jar? Like it was like the tips for like
a honeymoon fund or something?
No, it wasn't a honeymoon fund. It was like tips for the honeymoon. And it was just asking for people to write inappropriate.
Not like money, just tips like relationship tips.
Yes.
And I've seen that a few times too.
And I remember you did the TikTok, you pulled some out and you looked at it and you were like, I can't read this on
they were
film.
all sexual in nature, I think. And I was trying to do a TikTok. I go, no, not that one. Not that one. Not that one.
Oh my gosh. So funny.
But there were a lot of their peers there. So
yes,
the peers always answer differently than your aunt and uncle.
True.
And your nieces and nephews.
True.
But that's why they're there. They give a different perspective on life.
Absolutely. So the next one we did a TikTok on not too long ago.
I've only seen this one once.
Yeah. And it really was popular for 2 reasons. One, because people didn't fully understand it.
They were confused. Yes.
They were confused. The second was because it was adorable, right? So explain what it was.
So it basically said, give us your recipe for love, I think it said.
Right.
And people would write in there they would kind of make up a recipe, like add 2 sweet people, mix in a lifetime of adventure, right? And their dog, Billy, and you get a
happy marriage,
a souffle of love forever. Boom. You like how I came up with that?
That was pretty good.
Tell them why it was confusing.
So people would comment on the post that we did and say, how are you going to remember a recipe?
2 cups of flour, or 2.5 cups of flour. You're like, what?
So it wasn't an actual recipe. They weren't asking you to give your best brownie recipe. They were asking for an example of what makes a good, healthy relationship.
It was just a cute way to talk about the two of them and how you could make it work, right? Something like people say like, never go to bed angry, kind of like they'd work that into the thing, or just like make sure you still go on date nights, all those little things people would say, but they kind of fit it into a recipe type style. And the couple were like really into baking. So it was kind of a really cute, people knew them as very talented in the kitchen. And so it was really them,
Yes.
So it was really, and that's what we're always going for. Find a way to bring in the two of you, your personality, your likes, your flavor of life, whatever it is, bring that in. And that was a really cute way to do it.
It was cute. And what was especially cute was they had this wooden guest book, like not guest book, but like recipe book, right? That had their names, and it was gorgeous, right? So they were going to actually put everybody's messages in this recipe book from their wedding. And I just thought it was really sweet.
A lot of people do that with some of the other ones we're going to mention here. They'll have like double-sided tape, and they'll actually put the thing in the guest book right there, and they'll sign it or something. But you can just have people collect it. And then if you don't want someone else to mess up your book, you can do it yourself later, right?
Absolutely. I think that happens quite often.
I think that does, because
honestly.
they go back and say like, oh my gosh. I mean, because later in the night, you start to see the drunkenness comes out and pictures are backwards or upside down.
Yes.
And like 3 are stuck together and you're like, oh, for God's sake. What
so to that, point, something that we talk about, and we've talked about in previous podcasts, kind of along the lines of what are fun things to do at your event, but this actually kind of doubles as a guest book, is if you have a photo booth. Okay. So you have a photo booth, that you've hired for your event. Most photo booth companies also offer a guest book. And what that means is that you can get printouts right there on the spot. So your friends, your family take the pictures, and then you get a print, and they go over and they tape it, like you mentioned, into that guest book right there and sign, maybe, do some sweet words. And then you have their photo and also their signature. And that is so sweet and so much fun.
And you know what else the photo booth, while we're talking about it, doubles as a favor. Like people take those little pictures home. Raise your hand if you have one on your fridge right now from whatever it was. Yeah, well, we have loads of them because we offer the photo booth. But
you said raise your hand.
Okay, I'll raise my hand too.
Thank you.
But if you're looking for something, I want people to take something home with them that reminds them of our wedding day. Well, I mean, the photo booth picture usually has like a little monogram in the corner with your name and your date and some cute little design. And pictures of maybe you and them, or maybe them there and their plus one or their date, or the whole Johnson family got in there. All the bridesmaids got in there. Those are great keepsakes.
They are. And the thing that's great too is you can get 2 prints of the same picture. So meaning when you go in the photo booth, get 2 copies. One goes in the guest book. One goes home with the friends or the family.
And normally you can like get a link at the end so you can see all the pictures minus the ones that we had to edit out because they were
inappropriate.
Because alcohol.
Once again, our friend.
Yeah.
So what's next?
This is along the lines also with pictures, but there's a trend lately where I see a Polaroid camera.
Yes.
And people will take a picture. And there's a very similar to the guest book with the photo booth. It's just a blank book, basically, with maybe double-sided tape. You take a Polaroid, and maybe there's a backdrop there, a boxwood or a neon sign or just a wall. You take a picture, and you double-side tape the thing in the book, and then you write something nice as well.
So that's more of a like DIY photo booth, essentially, right? A lot of times they'll have multiple Polaroids there, because keep in mind, like especially if you get the more inexpensive ones, they can malfunction. So you probably want to have backup. And it also helps for like ease of use, like multiple people can be taking photos at the same time.
But the other thing is like, for those of you, this is how I always make the announcement. I go, if you haven't gone over and taken a Polaroid, please do so. For those of you under the age of 30, a Polaroid has an actual picture that comes right out of the phone. And you're like, haha, very funny, DJ. We know what a Polaroid is, but I guess maybe there's probably people that don't. It's been a minute since those were like a thing, but you do need to have extra film. Remember those days we had to put film in the camera? Yeah.
Yes.
You have to have extra film, and then and it can get a little bit cluttered. I've seen there's like sometimes there's trash from the extra thing, and then there's pins get scattered. But I mean, it's very popular for sure.
And something that can help that is, again, if you have a coordinator or you have someone there assisting you, when it's time, when the ceremony finishes, and that's like when the bulk of people sign or go to take those pictures, have someone there kind of helping to facilitate that.
Oh, for sure.
That way you don't have, as he mentioned, the leftover pictures that nobody wanted scattered across the table.
Well, plus people are trying to take a selfie with it too, right? Because
they do.
If you're there with your +1, you're like, well, I want both of us in the picture, but I mean, there's always somebody there you can say, will you take our picture? Like you're a tourist or something.
Yeah, but that's helpful. If you have someone posted up there, even for just a little bit, they can take those pictures as well.
Okay, now we're getting into some more unique stuff that we don't see as much because the other ones not the recipe book. I've only seen that once, but I've seen the Jenga quite a few times, the phone, the Polaroids, the photo booth. Mm-hmm. But now these are just a few that are really unique that really stuck in our memory. And the first one, I've only seen it once, but I'm going to mention it because it's the next on the list. But this couple had like this really cool bench they had bought, like a little bench for two that would sit in a flower garden or in your backyard. It was really unique. But they had a bunch of Sharpies and people just wrote something sweet on this bench that you might potentially be sitting on 50 years from now when you're old and in your little garden. And it was something that it was pretty solid, like it wouldn't like fall apart. And it would like move with them as they move. But I mean, how great of an idea was that?
So now it was fantastic. And I remember that video that you took at that event. Something that concerns me though, there were also children at this event. Okay. So children have access.
They were Sharpies and children.
Yes. Not a good combination, right? So as we've mentioned before, it may be helpful to have someone there monitoring it, at least for a small portion of time, to kind of give parents instructions, maybe to keep the Sharpies away from the kids.
There was some doodling.
Yeah.
With the little ones.
But it is a fantastic idea. And the same goes for, if we're talking about like large pieces that people are signing, I've seen the personalized cornhole boards that people have signed too. Mm-hmm. And it's the same kind of concept, right?
Yeah, you put your monogram and your date, maybe your initials on the cornhole, and then people have a Sharpie and they sign on those. Yeah,
exactly. But if you've got this large surface and you have children with Sharpies, it's dangerous.
And the same thing where you have like a giant picture of the two of you and they put like a white frame around the picture and then you sign next to the picture. That's great because that'll go on your mantle somewhere. That'll go in your hallway somewhere. But again, you got to watch if people mess up, they can't like scratch it out and start over. You're like, just be careful. So they have to have somewhere they can actually like sign it. If it's up on an easel, it's very hard to sign on those. They got to have somewhere they can like lay down on a table and people sign it.
That's true.
But it's also very cute. That one didn't even make the list. That one just popped in our head. We're just
making it up as we go.
Okay, so the bench was great. For all you, not DJs, it's just people that love their music and they're kind of old school. I've seen this a few times too. They find old records, old albums, and they set those out. You have to have the right Sharpie for it, but people sign something cool on a record. And then the one couple said they were going to take it home and put it in. The groom had a studio. He was going to put these records up on the wall.
I think that's so great.
It's really great. If that's kind of your thing, if that's kind of your niche. Niche. If that's your thing.
That's your thing. The other thing to think about too is what if you get a record of your first dance artist, right? Or some of your ceremony music. Like if you have a special artist that is relevant to your relationship, maybe get a specific record that's important to you guys and have them sign that. I think that's a fun idea too, right?
A little more effort involved in that because the last one I saw, they just went to a
thrift store,
used bookstore and found a bunch of them that they were like, I was picking up going, what are these artists? But you could tell all the music people because that's the first thing people were signing. Any music person would pick it up and be like, wait, which album? I'm like, oh, for goodness sake. There you go.
Yeah.
But that's like me. I would have definitely been like, wait, if this is the first edition White Album, you can't just write on it. But it wasn't that.
Definitely not. So let's take a break for a second here. We want to talk about something that's super exciting that we.
Oh, but the next three are so good. Okay,
we're going to wait just a second.
Okay.
I want to talk to you guys about a partnership that we've started. And it is with a company called Timeline Genius. Now, this is actually the software that I use to create my timelines as a planner for my local events. And I cannot tell you guys how intuitive it is, how helpful it is, and not just for planners anymore, for you as couples. You now have access to this software. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the link in the description. You can go to our page and you'll get a discount. this is going to allow you to get access to Timeline Genius where you can create your own timeline. And it's really helpful and user friendly.
It's really for you DIY brides out there. If you hired a professional, they'll already have all this stuff
Correct.
dialed in for you. But if you still have like a few vendors and a few family friends, a good timeline is like the adhesive, the glue that will hold your event together and put everybody on the same sheet of music, if you will.
Yes.
The DJ thing. I thought
very good.
But not that I read music when I'm DJing, but it's a music thing. But anyway, it really gives everybody this, it's really focused. And it's like, here's when this happened. Here's when this, and it'll make you think about things that you didn't even think to put on a timeline. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, when does hair and makeup start? Like,
yeah,
because if the hair and makeup is late, your whole day can be put off, because if the bride is still in the chair and not ready, she's not even in her dress. I mean, you have to backwards plan all this stuff, and Timeline Genius walks you right through it because, well, it's a genius.
It is genius. The other thing that is super exciting is, if you guys didn't know, we do one-on-one virtual planning sessions. And what those look like is that Dominic and I will sit down with you. We will go through your timeline if you want, music selections, floor plan. We will help plan your event virtually so that you can hand that over maybe to a coordinator or a family friend and really have an excellent plan for your wedding day. Now we are implementing Timeline Genius in our virtual planning. So you will actually be able to get your timeline from Timeline Genius, and we will walk you through the process of creating it. So it's super exciting.
It's like the best of both worlds, if you will.
Absolutely. Okay. So now we mentioned that. Let's move back to guest books.
So I am quite the little world traveler. How many countries? Do you remember? How have I been to?
39.
39 countries. And we are 4 hours from Mexico. I have not made it to Mexico yet. That would be,
I have.
You'd think that would be an easy one, but eventually, I keep saying, eventually I'll get down there, but we just haven't been there. So, and people always think it was my military days, which was true. I was stationed in Europe, which of course was an easy way to get around Europe. It's like every 4-day weekend we were going somewhere. But I got bit by the travel bug when I got out of the military. I've been all over the place. So whenever I see somebody that has the globe, the guest book globe, I'm always intrigued, because people like to, it's usually a couple that like to travel, want to travel, are intrigued by travel. Maybe they just like the globe. Maybe they like the world.
No, I think it's a lot of times it is exactly what you said. They either have traveled a lot together or they have plans of traveling. And so what it is they have these really cute, smaller globes. They're not like,
I've seen quite a different sizes, but yeah, the one
they're
is
not
like,
usually
like a silvery,
the big one.
Yeah. You could get a big one. I mean, it really depends on how many guests you have, right?
That's true. That's a good point. And people actually sign directly onto the globe. They sign their name, maybe a little congratulations. And it's really cute. It's really a sweet way. Now,
and the great thing is it's very much like the bench. And that's what I like, is it can be out and you can see it. Like, because if you just get a traditional guest book, and I'm not trying to hate on this one, but it's just a guest book you'd see like in a hotel. I see these too, where it's just people sign their name. But that gets put away on a shelf. I mean, I don't know what. Yeah,
you don't look at it very often. Yeah. That's true.
So it's just really great to have, because we have a globe. I love the globe we have in the house, and the kids are always looking at it and spinning it. I'm always like, watch your fingers, you're going to pinch your finger. That's what
Mr. Safety.
It's a finger pincher. It does, because you spin it and then you get caught, and it's like, yeah, and it just catches it right in that metal bar.
You are on a tangent now.
But anyway, it's great to have it out, and you can see all the signatures and the hearts and the smiley faces or whatever they put on.
Absolutely, and the one that I saw, that I remember specifically, had kind of a plaque engraved at the bottom that said like the adventure begins, and then it had their date and their names. So it was just it was personalized that way as well, which is really sweet.
And the last time I saw it as well, this was another video I did that did really well, but they had named their tables after places they had already been. And it was just this whole theme, like this travel theme, like this, because it was all about them. And even though people were like, I feel like that's a little bit braggadocious. I'm like, shut up. Like, that is the dumbest thing. People that think they're being arrogant when they describe their tables after their travels. Like, what? That's why you're not invited to these things, because you're that person, right? But family and friends were like, oh, I remember when they went to Vienna and they had a table called Vienna and they had a picture of the two of them there. And then there was the globe where you signed. I mean, it was really cool. They had a lot of international friends too that came. So that was really very cool.
Love it. Next, we have something that was done very specific by the bride herself, but that we just fell in love with. And we did, again, we mention this every time, we did a video on it, because we do a video on everything we see that's fun.
That's the best videos, because whenever I see something really unique, I'm always like, oh, that is so cool. You know who needs to see this? all the brides of TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else.
Everybody
They need
needs to see it.
So, and it's really cool. You take a video and slap it out there in the world.
Yeah. So
And then we
this
talk about it on our
was
podcast.
a bride who really loved the movie Up. Okay.
Attention Disney fans.
Attention Disney. And if you remember, obviously the theme of the movie was the little house and the balloons, and it was this whole thing, right?
It was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing. But she actually created, are you ready for this? On like a wooden board, the Up house. And then on the table next to it were all these different colored little balloons that people signed and then put above the Up house as if the balloons were taking the Up house away with everybody's little signatures. I mean, it was the most adorable thing. And I remember messaging her after the event because so many people were intrigued by her guest book and saying, where did you get this? And she said, I made it myself. And I hit the floor.
Job.
I mean, it was so creative and wonderful.
But
I just loved it.
I mean, I'm far from an artist, but I could draw a house, like that's like not a hard thing. So, I mean, it wasn't just a drawing. She like had colored pieces of wood. Like she put this, it was like legit.
Yes.
But it's not a super hard thing to do. And then the balloons, I don't know how she made the balloons, but it was all wood. It was like little
they were little
things.
wooden pieces.
Yeah. And, but it was fantastic. But it was another thing where the people signed the balloons and then put them back down. They didn't actually glue them on because she took it home and put it together.
So that it looked nice.
Yeah. And it did. But
it did.
We asked her to send us a picture afterwards. And then we had a video later where it was like
the result,
finished product. And it was very cool.
Love it. Disney fans, go do it.
And another one I
we've
saw
got
recently.
the last one. Is this our last one?
It's the last one on there, but I thought of another one.
Okay, let's keep going.
The other one I thought of was sometimes you'll see it's like a little, I always think of it as a little game of Plinko. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a little,
the heart.
A little wooden heart, and you sign something on there and then you drop it into the thing and it's a frame. Sometimes there's just a square frame.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we've seen them here in Texas in the shape of Texas. What was the last one we saw where the guy was a pediatrician?
So he was a cardiac pediatrician. And so their guest book was in the shape of an actual heart.
Yeah.
Not like a heart shape, but
no.
like the heart that's in your body.
The 4 ventricles. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's why we do weddings. We don't do
a heart surgeon.
Stuff.
I am not.
So they had little hearts that they put inside the big heart. And it was really cool.
It was really cool. And I've also seen them, I mean, you can find all sorts of different shapes, but it's really cool. You drop it in there and then again, you forgot it fills up basically.
Right. And so if you have no idea what we're talking about and we're doing a really bad job of describing this, I want to mention you can go to our Amazon finds, which are linked on either our TikTok or Instagram. And we have one of those linked there if you're interested in looking at what that looks like. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of fun.
But the last one that's on our list was one I've seen it a couple times, not very often, because this one definitely needs an attendant, I think, because it could get messy really easy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a giant tree. And you can get the family tree before we forget about that. There's one where you just it looks like you can get this print. I thought somebody had drawn it because it looks like somebody in the family.
Well, someone did draw it.
Somebody did draw it, but you can purchase it basically.
Etsy.
And it's in a big frame and there are all these little branches. It looks like a tree that has lost its branches and people just sign on a branch.
You mean leaves, not branches.
Yeah. They're leaves, not the branches. You sign on a branch and it looks really cool as it fills in. But this one that I saw recently, you basically there was like different colored ink pads and you push your thumb on the ink pad and you put your thumbprint on there and your thumbprint looked like a leaf and they had fall colors. So it was like all the reds and the oranges and there were some greens. And then you'd sign your name either next to or on top of your thumbprint.
It was gorgeous.
It was really cool.
Really cool. But again, we're going to bring it back. If you didn't hear it before, attendant is super helpful on this because we don't want kids sticking their thumbs all over and then or even some adults get nervous, right? And they don't know what to do at first.
Nervous or drunk?
That too. But it can help to just have a little direction initially. And what happens is if the first couple people do it well, then they kind of know what to do after that, right? They see the pattern.
The first person screws it up. It's all down because that is something that they spend money on it. They get it framed, even though there's no glass on it yet, but they get it framed. And then you really want to say like, okay, but just don't
mess it up.
Don't write something inappropriate or don't screw,
Yeah. So there's ways to do that.
Yeah.
Including the signage that we mentioned before to give instructions, have an attendant standing there kind of initially giving people help with, whatever you're using. But from there, it usually goes pretty smooth after that.
but there's other things you need. Like, what do you need? You need some Sharpies, maybe some colored Sharpies, maybe some tape, whatever it is you need for your thing, but just have those with it as well.
Right.
And but it's really fun to see. And people really enjoy it, the guest book. They're always looking for something to do during dinner, during cocktail. If they don't know everybody, if they're not catching up, if it's like a +1 or a friend, they'll go over and look at the sign in, look at the guest book. Sign the thing.
Yes. So it's super helpful to, go through these ideas with you guys and throw them out there because we see so many different wedding things and maybe you hate like 9 out of the 10 we gave, but maybe you like that one and now you've got your guest book idea. So
are you saying that a wedding is a very personal event?
Personal day? Is that what you're trying to say? And that's what I was going to say is we are super happy to be here with y'all. Thank you for listening to our podcast, for following along on Instagram, on TikTok, for watching us on YouTube, wherever you find us. We appreciate you all, and this is why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. So we'll end it the way we do every time.
It is a very personal day. So if you can, I know this sometimes is easier said than done.
True.
But don't let somebody talk you into something you don't want to do or talk you out of something you have your heart set on. It's your day. In the end, hopefully in a perfect world, you can just do you and have the event that you want.
Very true. So happy wedding planning, y'all. We will see you next time. We're going to end with our air kisses.
We're blowing you a kiss. Mwah. Bye. Hey, so thanks for listening to our podcast. If you found any of this information helpful and you know someone who may be engaged or is a maid of honor, maybe you could tell them and share it with a friend.
Absolutely. So screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram, on Facebook, and tag the wedding duo. We promise to share the love back. Also, if you are interested in more resources or the show notes, you can go to theweddingduo.co. We have one-on-one virtual sessions, a shop, all sorts of fun stuff. Check it out.